Floyd, thanks very much for joining us. Welcome to the show, mate.
Good morning, Michael. Thanks for having me on.
Listen, is yours a full-time job, is it?
Yes, it is.
So you're based in what, Wellington or Auckland or somewhere?
I'm based out at Hawke's Bay, so I am a corrections officer
at Mangaroa.
at Hawke's Bay Prison. Yep. But at the moment, as part of this role, I work full-time for the association, getting around supporting members and trying to get corrections to do the right thing.
Okay. So, all right, you represent the corrections officer, fair enough. How many corrections officers roughly are there in New Zealand, Floyd?
Around 4,000.
Okay, and what do you need to get to satisfy the recruitment policies of the Corrections Department currently?
So at the moment they're around 500 short. That number does vary depending on how they decide to calculate it, but around 500. You've then got the variable question around the fact that we need to upscale. So obviously there's a new prison being built, and in theory that'll be open next year sometime. And units across the country that over the last 6 years they've closed and stopped using because of the pressures they need to open those, which they're trying to do at the moment. And so there's probably around another 500 staff on top of that need to be recruited to man A, existing, and B, the growth that is needed.
So you're talking about the building of Wera Prison, which is in the Waikato, is that right?
That's correct.
And that is meant to house 810 prisoners or 810 beds. I don't know if that's different. But that will also include 685 new corrections staff, and that will include 470, almost 500 corrections officers, which wouldn't be limited by attrition. So you've got some big stuff to play out there. I commented about the recruitment policy that was on our television screens over the holiday break, the Christmas holiday break, New Year. Did that work?
It definitely created interest, and that's the one thing corrections obviously reports on, is it created interest, and it did. What we struggle with though sometimes is a lot of interest doesn't necessarily translate into a lot of people starting. Our focus is always how many people start at the college and finish the college, because that's the number that matters, not the 2,000 applicants that don't progress.
Yeah, that's fair enough, yeah. Well, what do I have to do to become a corrections officer? So when you say a college, is it like police college?
Similar to police college, we operate in a slightly different space because our training is quite different. So for us, you start off, once you process through the requirements, there's a week that you first do on site. So you do a week's induction at your prison, where they run you through your site layout, requirements, rules, and basic things. Then following that, there's a 5-week period where you're at the college, which is based down in Wellington, where you learn some of the ins and outs, the legislation, and some core training fundamentals that need to be ticked off. And then following that, they spend 4 weeks on the site where they shadow some staff, and they get some additional training around site-specific and specifically working in the unit a bit more intensively, at which point they then graduate and then hit the floor as an officer.
I've just added up 1 + 5 + 4, and unless my maths has completely deserted me, that's 10 weeks of training before I'm on the floor. Is that right?
That's correct.
I'm sorry, but I don't think that to go into what I would consider in many cases a high-risk situation with a whole series of bad people, 10 weeks training seems particularly inadequate to me, Floyd.
Oh, absolutely. For a long time we've advocated that needs to increase, and there needs to be some specific training ramped up and put in place, which obviously we've tried to lobby for and introduce, because it's not enough. For someone to come in off the street that doesn't understand the world we're in, for a lot of people, they don't know what gangs are. So they don't know what a gang is other than what they see in the news until they hit the prison and they're faced with it. So there is far more training that should be done. But it's one of those things that unfortunately the importance of getting people on the floor, the adage of bums on seats is more important than quality sometimes for people. So it's for us, we're fighting that bureaucracy, and so that's something that does need to improve.
What do you get paid? So I'm being paid during that training process, I guess, for that 10 weeks. But then when I hit the floor, what's the basic salary of your average corrections officer?
So corrections officers, it's a sliding scale which is based on rank. We, in our last negotiations, we actually managed to change that slightly. So when you commence, you start on the same as the average CO, which at the moment is 67,000. So you start on 67,000. There's then qualification levels that come with that, and so as long as you go through some of those qualifications within your first year, you should be able to progress to 72 or 74,000. But given what staff face and the high pressure that they are in, our standpoint always has been 67,000 for the work we do just isn't good enough. And that is part of the problem with A, recruiting, and then B, more importantly, retaining staff.
Yeah, isn't it interesting? Because I would have thought if I am still there and I'm on 74,000, that's not too bad considering you've just plucked me off the street and given me 10 weeks training. Am I allowed to work as a corrections officer and I have, minor criminal convictions?
No. So
I've got to be completely clean.
You've got to be completely clean. There is obviously, there's those rare examples where they can look at things like infringements. At the end of the day, it's something that the department and the recruitment team look at very carefully. But one of the big steps with recruitment is a police check. And so that is relatively important given the work we do and who we work with. Someone coming in with criminal convictions could be a serious conflict of interest.
No, I understand that. I was just wondering, I got caught speeding and I lost my licence about 5 years ago. Does that mean that I'm out, or is it that's not a criminal offence?
No, so that's the type of thing that can be obviously discussed case by case, because, like you say...
Oh, so it could disadvantage me from attending as a corrections officer?
No, it's just something that you'd have to declare up front, and they'll discuss it with you and have that discussion, and that's the type of thing they will often go past that, so that's not a hurdle.
Yeah.
But any conviction, which obviously if it's a high enough level, it's on your record, but it's not, it's not a criminal conviction.